At this point, you probably already know that I really enjoyed the Vector series. The simplistic art style, the lore, and the realistic parkour animations made it one of the most beloved and iconic figures in mobile gaming history. And despite being well over a decade old, it has become part of our collective childhood. But Vector didn't come into existence overnight, and it was actually a game that only a few will remember, but was the main inspiration for not only Vector, but for many future endless runners like Jetpack Joyride, Go Ninja, and many more. And its name was Canabalt. Canabalt was an endless runner game from 2009 that was originally a simple flash game, but it survived the test of time and lived long enough to be ported over to Steam and on the App Store. It revolves around an unnamed man in the near distant future where he has to run on rooftops to escape some unknown entity. It's simple, it's pixelated, and it's fun. But you might be asking, how could such a small game manage to inspire a future generation of its kind? Well, to fully understand how significant Canabalt really is, we first need to look at its humble beginnings. Canabalt was created by American indie developer Adam Saltzman, also known as Adam Atomic on his socials. Adam loved to create, and more importantly, he was really good at coding. During 2008, he created a program called Flixel, which is an open source game framework for making games under Flash with ActionScript 3. If that sounds confusing, in simpler terms, it basically means he made a Unity engine for Flash games. Also, if the name Flixel sounds familiar, keep it in mind for now for a surprise later. Anyway, Adam's first work would be Gravity Hooks, another simplistic game revolving clicking on balls to move upwards, kinda like Doodle Jump where you have to jump on platforms to move up. Then a year later, in 2009, Adam was involved with something called Kyle's Experimental Gameplay Project. Now I couldn't find anything specific about it online, but from what I had to guess, it was probably this one I found, where they were basically making games that tried to do something innovative or never before seen, sort of like the game jams we have now. So, Adam got to work, and in 2 weeks he finished creating Canabalt, and it was an instant success. Now you might be asking, what is Canabalt? Or specifically, what does it mean? Well, Canabalt itself isn't actually a word, instead it was a combination of words and phrases that Adam's nephew would often say. I actually have a few guesses on what those words were. The first part is definitely cannonball. You know, the thing people do but aren't supposed to when jumping into pools. As for the other half, I'm not too sure, but it could be the word bolt, another word for running. So, Canabalt. Because that's all you'll be doing in this game. You only have one button, which is to jump. Your character is automatically running, and all you need to do is dodge the obstacles thrown your way and jump at the right time to avoid falling to your demise. Right off the bat, you can already see the similarities between it and Vector, from their main character, to the setting, and to the gameplay. Minus the parkour moves, of course. However, in Canabalt, the mystery factor is cranked up to its maximum because you quite literally don't know what's going on. There's no cutscene explaining anything, and you can't even see what's chasing you, which reminds me of another game called No Time to Explain from 2011, where you're given no context whatsoever. Now, in the past two videos, I criticized Vector 2's lack of tension due to a similar reason of not having something to be chased by, but in Canabalt's case, it does something a bit unique, as if you slow down at any time, the screen will begin to shake and ominous noises can be heard getting louder. While you don't know what's chasing you and it actually can't kill you, it still enforces the need to keep running. As a famous quote once said, "Fear of the unknown is the greatest fear of all," which rings true in this case as even the background itself doesn't have any answers. Giant robots are stomping around, and ships can be seen either fleeing the planet or fighting against other ships. Those robots could be either humanity's own or something from outer space. Maybe it's a Terminator scenario where AI is trying to take over. We don't know. Just like the thing chasing us, whether it's aliens, robots, or demonic monsters, it's all up to our imagination. And sometimes our imagination can conjure up things scarier than what's actually there. Another cool feature that Canabalt uses is procedurally generated levels. Now, this isn't anything special, but the game was released during its renaissance, because 2009 was the same year that Minecraft would be born, the future mascot of randomly generated worlds. And although it wasn't the first game to do this effect, it would be just like Minecraft in that it popularized the concept. The earliest example I could think of was in 2010 for a game called Gravity Guy, an endless runner game that had a swapping gravity mechanic. It had similar sci-fi aesthetics and the use of randomly generated levels. Then there's games like Flappy Bird or Jetpack Joyride that had the same one button tap to jump and random obstacles, and so on and so forth. On a fundamental level, Canabalt is still lacking, but its endless levels, fast-paced action, easy-to-access gameplay, great soundtrack, and a global leaderboard showing the scores of people worldwide would help it quickly become an addictive and popular game, getting on average over 4-star ratings from multiple media outlets, and its influence became the stepping stones for future games of its kind, and I believe that deserves some commemoration. So now that begs the question, what happened to Canabalt after its success? Well, Adam didn't really do much after Canabalt until 2014 when he would relaunch his studio with his wife called Finji. If that studio sounds familiar, it was because it was the same studio that was behind the award-winning game Night in the Woods. Ironically, despite the main character being a cat and me being a cat dude, I don't really know much about the game other than it being a popular indie game for a time, and also two of my favorite YouTubers Manly and Jack playing it. Also, a fun fact, the creator of Friday Night Funkin', Ninja Muffin, was actually the one to port Canabalt to HTML5 using Haxflixel, the newer version of Flixel created by Alexander Holov to surpass the limitations of its predecessor, which is the same engine Ninja Muffin would use for his own game. And that's why it was so easy to mod FNF. Canabalt was even ported to both mobile markets, the PSP, and the Commodore 64 for some reason. I don't know why specifically that, but it's what's on the wiki. And also, funnily enough, it somehow managed to find its way into the Ouya. Remember that piece of trash? Many older games tend to end up forgotten or lost to time, either from not being ported to newer devices or being outright removed by their developers. But in Canabalt's case, it was so influential that it was actually immortalized in the Museum of Modern Art in 2012. Even if Canabalt was somehow to become lost content, its legacy can be seen through the games it inspired, like the ones I mentioned earlier, and the biggest and best example being Vector, which would go on to become one of the most iconic parkour games ever. And that's the story of Canabalt, a game that started off as a submission for essentially an early version of a game jam and was made in only 2 weeks, but managed to redefine a genre and create a legacy for generations to come. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I actually like working on this one as I found out a lot about this game that I didn't think I would find, from it having ties to Friday Night Funkin' of all things, and how Adam's work would be the stepping stones for not only that, but for other endless runners. Also, thank you all for 8,000 subscribers. I just posted a thank you post for 7k literally just a week ago, and now we're just 2k away from 10k, and it's not even halfway through the month yet. You guys are awesome, and hopefully we'll start the year strong at 10,000. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Doing so will help make sure I get noticed by the algorithm, and special thanks to my members for their continued support, is what I would say if I had any. I'm just kidding. This is just a test example for how I would showcase members in the cat enthusiast tier. I'm also serious about designing deco arcs of members' profile pictures for the cat aficionado tier. I'm still wondering how I would showcase it. For now, I was thinking something like this. But later when I have time, I kinda wanna do the thing that Smash Bros does, where it shows the characters. But each time a new cat aficionado member joins, I'll do a whole custom thing for it where they appear, because as I said in previous videos, I want to make YouTube my full-time job, and those that are willing to help me financially are immensely appreciated. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate all of you guys in the comment section, whether it's mentioning a classic game, or just trivia, or showing love for my content. I'm always there reading and replying when I can. So until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.